Hey, hope you're doing well. I've been spending the last 2 months playing Elden Ring, and I just got the platinum a couple days ago, and I decided to throw together just a couple clips that I happened to capture from the game. This is about a 15-minute long PS4 clip here. This is probably 2 boss fights and 1 NPC fight at the end. That's going to be pretty much a big spoiler if you haven't played through the game and gotten to the end of certain quest lines. But we'll talk about that more later. Here I'm in the Lake of Rot, and I'm battling against the Dragon King soldier. And I pulled out my Mimic just because I figured the Mimic would help draw it like to this platform so I didn't have to stand in the rot. But as you'll see, using a Mimic, it's such a great concept in the game. Someone who has your level, your buffs, your power and health, and is also kind of invincible to certain issues. I mean, I don't think my Mimic is really losing health due to Scarlet Rot right now, as it's running around that river. It's probably using certain greases or other things I have in my inventory, but not using them up for me. So the intention was, like I said, that the Dragon King soldier was going to come onto the platform after me, but he never really did that. And my Mimic just kept fighting in the rot, and I kept waiting for the Dragon Kid to come over. I kept trying to aggro him towards me instead. I guess Shabriri's Woe, or whatever that talisman is called, would have been helpful. But my Mimic would have also gotten him. So my Mimic dies at the last second, and I go in for the final hit, and I take all the credit. Why not, right? But at this point, I was like, you know what? I should probably capture that, because that was pretty funny. As a point, don't ever roll in Scarlet Rot, because you're just going to make it so much harder for yourself. That rot's going to keep building up afterwards. Of course, if you have some, use some soap, and that will make that stop. But I just kind of used all my boluses up. I just kept eating them up. Then we're going to head to the other part of this area. I struggled to get through some of it, but we'll see you at the end of it. So as I mentioned, you leave the giant, expansive lake of rot and you go into an area where there's a lot more solid ground, but there's also those bug creatures that are just horrible, and there's a seed beast that comes at you. I struggled a bit in that area, but eventually I got in the coffin, took the trip down here, and went into to meet Estelle, who we're going to see here in just a second. And of course, this creature is a boss version of something that we've fought 2 or 3 times before in various underground areas. It hits hard, but everything that we've, all the versions of this enemy that we've come in contact with were pretty tame compared to Estelle here. They didn't have a tail that would whip us. They didn't have nearly as much magic, and they certainly didn't have any area of effect attacks like Estelle has. So we pull out the Mimic again. I think this is the second clip in a row where I think this is a losing fight here. I think you're gonna see me die. Oh, and I spawned right after. It's definitely something that can happen. Make sure you're rolling. There you go. I did die. Okay. Yeah, make sure you're rolling right after Estelle disappears. We'll head back into it. But yeah, lots of different magic, and the problem is, if you don't have a long enough weapon, you're not going to get a lot of hits in, except on the head, which is kind of dangerous because those pincers can grab you. They can take a good 3/4 of your HP at once. This is the usual course of action I would take. Drink your flask of tears, or whatever it's called. Then use some blood flame blade. Walk in, start up the mimic, take a crimson tear, and get to it. Definitely an interesting concept here with all the planets. And the weapon you can get for this remembrance is pretty silly. If I remember correctly, the amount of runes you get is pretty nice. Yeah, so here and now I'm rolling, I'm learning. But he ended up warping to an area that was pretty far away. This might take a few minutes. May as well talk a little bit about the game, my experience. So, at this point, I'm about level 94, I think. This is probably, I want to say maybe halfway through. Level 94, I ended up in level 170. Is that true? I think so. Pretty sure that was about the number I had. But what's funny was I played 170 hours, so that's why I'm kind of questioning if that number is correct for the level, because I know the hours I spent were 170 hours, which is crazy. Again, it's why it took me 2 months to play through. But in the end, I fought and defeated pretty much every single enemy and boss you can come up against. The only thing I skipped was, here we are. I'm very close to the end here. As you can see, my Mimic Tear's health is a little low. I think this is another one where the Mimic ends up sacrificing themselves so I can get the final hit one more time. And there goes the Mimic, yep, and I get the final blow and take all the credit. Yeah, that's good. It's good to be the king. Yeah, so I did play 170 hours of this game. I got a fairly high level by the end of it. Right now, here, I'm like Vigor 40, Strength 35, Dexterity, I want to say 30. I'm using a Source Seal and a Talisman that gives me 5 points in Strength. I'm not using a Rune Arc, because every single time I used a Rune Arc, I would die almost instantly. I had probably a good 16 Rune Arcs left at the end of the game because I never used them, because every time I did, I would just die faster, which is weird. The Source Seal I can understand because you're putting out, you're taking in more damage, but the Rune Arcs, you don't take more damage. This is a bit further in, not too far though. I don't think so. I think this is like the next area. But anyway, this is This is like where close to where Ronnie and the three towers are, I think, right? Anyway, this is a dragon that you come up against when you first arrive in this area. Oh, it's after you beat Loretta the first time and you come into this area. Yeah, this is the Ronnie area. And you see this dragon and you fight it and you take away maybe half of its health and it flies away. And then you come back here and you have to defeat it for real. And this is a kind of a fun fight. I struggled to get through it a few times. And I think I'm probably going to show you at least one death here. But in the end, pretty successful. So yeah, I played through the entire game. And I tried to get all of the death birds and they're not called night riders, but I know I got all of that, the black knights that ride on the black horses. You can only find them at night. And went through every catacomb and dungeon and all that kind of stuff. And the only thing I avoided was kind of the dragons in Caelid that don't really give you anything. But you definitely want to kill as many of the dragons that are named. Whether or not they even give you trophies, most of them are going to give you some great powers. And the ones that give you like the rock breath and the frost breath, even like the last magma worm that gives you kind of the magma spell. See, not too bad. I guess I didn't have a death in this one. I must have cut out all the deaths. But some of those spells ended up carrying me through some of my final boss fights, which you can see in the PS5 video that's coming up later. But you definitely want to go through as many of the dragons as you can, collect as many hearts as you can, because some of those spells are actually worth using. And I'll show you more in the next video. But we went through the entire video and we got every single collectible. We got everything. I probably spent twice as much time in this game that I needed to. Oh, I have to say right now, this is a spoiler. If you have not completed one of the major quests, this is part of Ronnie's quest. If you have not completed it, this will spoil something for you. So I would suggest you stop watching right now if you don't want to see a character that you meet very early on that will come to an end, we'll say. Okay, well, it's too late now. If you're here, then you're either spoiled or you already know who this is. And I kind of just wanted to show this off. The Bloodhound Fang is such an amazing weapon, and it's so entirely amazing how they set you up with blades in the beginning of the game. I mean, maybe a couple hours into the game, if you know how to get to him, and they give you the opportunity to use him to defeat the enemy. I don't remember the Bloodhound's name. It's like Yarwol, or it starts with a Y. See how quickly that went? It gives you the ability to defeat him using blade, to get this weapon, and use this weapon for the rest of the game. And it is something that I used up until the last few seconds of the game. There were other weapons I used, but this one was the best one to use. The finesse and the step together, amazing combination. But it was sad to see Blade go. But we'll be back in another video with the PS5 content. Bye.